by Hurricane Zeta. We've got great leadership in coastal Mississippi. Talking with Mayor Fofo Gillich, Mayor Billy Hughes, and then also we'll have Rupert Lacey from Harrison County Emergency Management toward the end of the show. Hey, Kyle, why don't you come in and join me for a second, and let's say good morning to Kyle, and we'll get an update from the Storm Center here at SuperTalk. What you seeing, Kyle?
Well, depending on who you talk to, you have a few of the weather forecasters saying it could strengthen to a Category 2. Then you have another one that's getting, I guess, some real-time reconnaissance from the hurricane hunters saying they're not really finding winds of even 90 miles an hour. So it's two different camps, and I guess we're going to really hope for the not finding 90 miles an hour. Yeah, for sure. I think that what's happening is as the pressure drops, it takes some time for the winds to get down to the surface, and Hurricane Center feels fairly confident that we'll be dealing with at least a Category 2. And so the bottom line for that is higher than normal storm surges in coastal Mississippi. You're looking at 6 to 9 feet, and then winds could have gusts to 100 miles an hour, and that's just kind of the reality of what we're dealing with. Yeah, I think by this afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock, we're going to start to pick up with the tropical storm force winds, and I think it's going to go downhill pretty quickly. I think the latest forecast is they're calling for forward movement of this thing, 17 to 20 miles an hour, so it'll be in quick and out quick. Yeah, so by midnight, whatever's done will be done, and then it will start to settle down. But why don't we bring Mayor Fofo Gillich into the conversation and let him join us. And Mayor, you guys have been through this drill 4 times this year, and it seems weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I'm done with predicting. I started with 2020, and every storm, it seems like it's completely opposite of what we think. So this time looks like we were in the middle of this ball game, and I think practice is going to be perfect for us. And the good news is, as it moves fast, we'll be on the road to recovery faster than normal.
So if you look at the current track, it comes in at southeast Louisiana, comes up across Hancock County. It comes in at that angle. It's a really bad angle, actually, for storm surge purposes, and then just north of Gulfport, and then heading that way on into Alabama. But we won't get the initial landfall winds, but they're calling for gusts in coastal Mississippi of over 100 miles an hour. So that's enough to really create some challenges for us, for sure.
Yep. Well, again, we're hopeful that it comes in, does its thing, and leave, and the water leaves with it. And I'm not sure of the tidal situation, but I think later on this afternoon, 7 or 8, we'll get a good feel on what that water is going to do.
Yeah. So the bottom line is that we know this drill, as you said so many times before. We have to know what to do if we live in low-lying areas. And what's your message to Biloxians as it relates to that?
Again, be vigilant. Where you have issues as far as moving around or getting around, and emergency. If you got people who are subject to needing to go places, let's anticipate that, and just be careful, be vigilant, and don't let your guard down.
Well, we're probably going to have a lot more down trees and limbs. We haven't been tested with any serious wind in a while, so I would expect widespread power outages. And I've said this on my social media feeds, and I know you've been saying this as well. But people should just reach out to their friends and their neighbors and just make sure that they're taking this seriously and that they've done the kind of things they need to do around their house, because a lot of people have Halloween decorations out, for example. This is the time to get those in, isn't it?
Sure is. Well, like I said, just keep our fingers crossed, but be vigilant, and we'll get through this for sure.
What's the latest on the casinos?
I think they're locking up right now. I'm not sure. I haven't talked with the gaming commission or anything, but I think they're coming down as we speak. I took a drive around and looked at where everything was staged, and especially the ones like Golden Nugget and everything. I think they're doing the deed right now.
Yeah.
So good news is that we'll have a weekend for sure. So that's the main thing.
What's the latest on schools?
I think Biloxi is going to be out at noon.
Yeah.
And we're internally, I think we're about that same time as far our crews came in and preparing, doing the normal thing, staging, making sure the drains are as clean as they can be right now. And we've done that 4 times. So hopefully, it's as good as it can be right now.
Any read on shelters?
No, not really. I'm not aware of the conditions there, but we'll have that and get the word out in a very short time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as you know, I'm battling COVID, and I can't help but think about people who are thinking about the COVID situation and what they should do. Most of the emergency evacuation centers hope that you would go to a family member, et cetera. But if you have to go, they've got all the things in place to try to keep everybody safe. So, if you're in a low-lying area or in a mobile home or something like that, and you need to leave, go to a shelter. Don't stay home if you don't have a family member to go visit. That's about the best message you can say, isn't it?
It is. Especially if you're not very solid situation as far as height and wind protection. They'll take care. It complicates the issue. The COVID it complicates every issue, as you know, and we're mindful of that, and we hope, and we're no doubt that the people who are running these shelters and doing these things are going to have that in mind. Number one.
Yeah. So, hey, did you get much sleep last night?
I did. I slept pretty good last night. I had to do my last minute things in the yard to make sure we were ready for the storm. So, but I was hopeful this morning that I was going to see a breakup when I woke up. But that was about 5 o'clock. I was with Cantori this morning at 7:05. But anyway, it's it's plugging right along the same route that the other ones had predicted. But this is for real.
Yeah, we didn't have the change in track like we've had in these last ones. It's been pretty solid steering currents from the very beginning. And we kind of feared that because this time of year, the high was in place. You had this front coming down. It just kind of
stuck on last Thursday, I was at Keesler celebrating the 80th anniversary of the 2nd Air Force, and then we had General, a couple of 3 stars and a couple of 2 stars, and we were talking about the storm. There's something out there. I said, no way. I'll put my foot in the water. It's too cold. No way it's going to happen. But just like 2020, I stuck my foot in my mouth because of that. But here we are, and I'm giving up predictions for.
Yeah, I got so bold as I had Hurricane Hunter team scheduled for tomorrow for the show. As you can imagine, they're not available. No. They're doing their work. But I tell you what, it gives you a sense of peace when you live near Keesler or drive near Keesler and you hear the hum of those Hurricane Hunter airplanes doing their work. Man, we're just surrounded by so many heroes, aren't we?
No doubt. And during the month of October, the Marines were there, and you probably heard, like I heard, those Ospreys roar, and they roar. I'm telling you. I asked Heather, Colonel Blackwell, I said, "What was that?" I said, "Would y'all fly?" I said, "That was those Ospreys, the Marine Ospreys, the whole month of October." And it certainly makes you proud that what we have located right on our coast. So, it's pretty cool.
Well, we'll have Billy Hughes on after this, but the team at the CB base, and boys, we're lucky to have that group, and then Keesler. I mean, this the military presence in general. They're good leaders in the community. They're especially important to us after we face disaster, and hopefully this is a situation where we're just cleaning up afterwards and getting power restored, and we get on with our lives. That's all it should be.
There you go.
So what do you do the rest of the day?
Well, we're going to, monitor what we need to do as people go home and get ready, in their personal lives. But I think next couple of hours will be critical for us to make sure, what we do the rest of the afternoon and where we're, keeping all hands on deck, ready to go if needed. I did drive around and see where everything was staged as far as utilities and police and fire. So we're just sitting back on ready, hoping not to have to go anywhere, but anyway.
Yeah, I hear that. And then in the aftermath, we'll be working hard to assess the situation and get the coast, back up and running as quickly as possible. And you and your family, I guess, will be riding this out, or are you going to be riding this out at the city hall?
No, we're going to be riding at the house. So we're going to watch it. And
okay, so Mayor, we'll let you go. We're coming to the end of the break. I appreciate you coming on. Kyle, why don't you come back in for just a second? And we'll just tell everybody one last time before we go to the break and to Billy Hughes that the effects of the storm will start to be felt. Some of the rain we're feeling already. Winds picking up, but after lunch is when you should be hunkered down, correct?
Yeah, if you need to find a shelter, if you need to do anything last minute, I would almost say 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock is going to be that very last minute. You've got to be done and back at your wherever you're riding the place out at.
Okay, sounds good, buddy. We'll thank you, Fofo. We'll be back with Mayor Billy Hughes after this.
Okay, good luck, Ricky, for everybody.
Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk 103.1.
Get out of the house and over to Big Play today. 2 massive arcades, bowling, go-karts, 2 mini golf courses, a 2-story state-of-the-art laser tag arena, bumper cars, and right now get a $50 game card for only $25. Visit our station's Facebook and print on demand so you can play at Big Play Entertainment Center now. These deals won't last long, so make sure you get your half-off deal. Big Play Entertainment Center, Highway 90 Biloxi. Bowl, play, eat. Go to our station's Facebook to get your half-off deal now.
What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fm.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors here. The show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to touch frequently touched surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse@telesouth.com. That's JESSE@telesouth.com. TeleSouth Media is an equal employment opportunity employer.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Let's go ahead and move over to the mayor of Gulfport, Mayor Billy Hughes, and bring him in and find out what the latest is going on in Gulfport. How you doing, Mayor?
Doing fine, Ricky. Just kind of like everybody got our eyes to the south.
Yeah, I know that for sure. It looks like we're gonna get whatever it's got to give us. But we've been through this drill a few times, haven't we?
We have, and we talk. That is a price of paradise. There's a lot to be had here, a lot to be thankful for, regardless of what's thrown at us. But looks like we dodged 3 bullets. Everybody recalls, 48 hours out, we were in the bullseye of every single one of these storms, and now this one, I guess our number's up, and we're just grateful. It's not forecast to be any worse. But y'all were talking earlier, when we're talking internally too, watching a lot of models and things, and probably going consensus is a category 2 when it hits New Orleans, probably category 1 winds and things when we get here. Our concern is always, because of our shelf off the waters, is a surge. And we're going to have a surge that's going to be substantial enough to be concerned about, to watch. But one of the models says, this isn't to be alarmist, but it could, flirt with a category 3 type of event. Mm-hmm. And so, and looking at what the other storms, every other storm that we've had this season, initial forecasts were that it wasn't going to be much. And within 24 hours, they spun up really quick. Look at what happened to Orange Beach. It just caught them by surprise. Yeah. As far as the track, number 1, but the intensity, number 2. So we've got our evacuations of the harbors going on. Shelters are going to be opening at 2:00, and we'll learn more at the Emergency Operations Center at Harrison County with Rupert. And I'm sure you'll have him on, but they'll be talking about that. But I think they're going to open up. The city of Gulfport, we're going to be putting a curfew in place at 5:00 today. And quite frankly, if anybody's out there, you need to get really into shelter by about 3:00. That's when the winds are probably going to start. We're going to feel them. But if you're still on the road or out at 5:00, you're just asking for injury or trouble or some real problems.
Well, gusts of 100 miles an hour or greater may not be sustained, but boy, that's enough to take trees down, bring limbs down, to throw things around in people's yard. Well, we're not kidding. This could be a serious situation. People really need to heed the advice of people like you, Billy, and our emergency operations people. This is one we really have to pay attention to.
It is, and your point about the wind. Folks say, well, it's something that some people like to get out and experiment or check it or, just get in it. The thing about it, what is carried by the wind is what is dangerous. It's like flying shrapnel out there. And if you get caught by a limb that's going 100 miles an hour, you're probably going to die.
Yeah.
So it's very, very serious that we take this. The good news, I don't sense any complacency. And that can happen when you have one drill after another. But I think people have an appreciation for the damage this storm can be. The good news is when this thing comes, it's going to punch through. So, in a matter of hours, by the time we wake up in the morning, the storm should have passed and we'll just be dealing with the aftermath. But from about 3:00 today, really 5:00 certainly, through midnight or a little beyond, just watch the news. We got really good information that we can track and find and see what's going on. And hopefully we don't lose a lot of power, but we're probably going to lose some power. There's going to be some, like you said. So we're going to be susceptible to the ravages of 100-mile-an-hour plus winds. Like you said, whether the gusts are sustained, they're still real serious.
Yeah, I was talking to the mayor, Fofo, just a second ago about with the COVID situation. If someone lives in a mobile home or they live around a lot of trees and they don't have family members to go stay with who are in a safe spot, they should really strongly consider a shelter. And the shelters have taken into account all of this COVID stuff, and they're working to make sure people are safe as much as any place else they could go. That's true, right?
It is absolutely true. Any type of public gathering space, and the shelters are no exception. They have to have sanitation protocols in place. But just as importantly, with you having contracted it, and it affects people differently. But what I've been hearing from folks who I know have had it, particularly folks who are middle-aged, not just the elderly, but anybody who gets this thing, they may be fine one moment, and in a matter of hours, this thing causes the oxygen levels to drop significantly. And if you don't have access to some sort of medical care or help or people around you to get you where you need to be, so it's a pretty serious deal.
It is. My symptoms, I'm 6 days into this. Literally no taste, no smell. That's gone. It affects those nerves so much. I literally have tingling in my lips. I have this constant kind of dizziness. A headache that I think is from the low oxygen. I did have a little bout with low oxygen yesterday. It's back where it needs to be now. It's not perfect, obviously, but it's good. But I have one of those finger oxygen checkers, And anyone who's got COVID needs to have one, especially if I'm plus 60 years old. You have to really pay attention to that because, as you pointed out, and I've been talking about it on air and all this, but I didn't know how fast it could go to heck in a handbasket if it starts to dip. And, everyone around me and people I don't even know sending me messages saying, just watch the oxygen, keep an eye on the oxygen. And I'm on all the protocols and whatever. So far, so good. The biggest issue I'm facing is just simply making sure everybody in my family is safe. Locked down at the house, all the disinfecting. I'm going to ride out the storm in a room by myself. That's just what you have to do when you're facing a family member who's getting that, if you don't want it to spread. So it's just something we have to deal with, right, buddy?
Yeah. So you're saying that, normally when you get around Ann, you're always short of breath and very tingly, but this is a different type of sensation.
Hey, that is the truth. I'm a very blessed man. That is for sure. But the other, when you don't have taste or smell, you don't want to eat. I haven't had an appetite in 6 days. So it's a good weight loss program, I can tell you that. I don't have to force myself. I just have to say, okay, I better eat something because I know that it's important. And Ann's been right there making sure that happens. She's been great. But we have vulnerable family members, and we just wanting to make sure that they stay safe. And by the way, the point I would make is that if it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone because my circle of friends are very tight. One friend or two friends had it in their family. They were asymptomatic. I don't really know who I got it from, but I haven't been around many people. But I got it. And, so it's all around us. And that's why I think people have to be careful. They got to practice social distancing. They got to wear a face mask. I know you've been super diligent. I noticed that when I see you out and about, and you just can't drop your guard, can you, Billy?
Ricky, these diseases, they don't discriminate. They're equal opportunity infectors, and you don't know whether it's a contact, touching something, or being in proximity to somebody. But I will tell you, I still have to remind myself to put a mask on. I usually have it around my neck or hanging somewhere, so I've got it with me. But there are times I get out of the car and say, oh, man, I got to go get my mask. And fortunately, stores have the expectation too. We still get reports, though, the new mask mandate's back into effect. If we're smart, we don't need to be relying on the government to tell us how to conduct ourselves. Everybody has enough information now to know this is a serious matter and issue. Protect yourself, protect others, and wear a stinking mask. But I'll get out and I'll take 3 steps from the car and say, oh man, I got to get my mask. Usually I got it in my pocket or somewhere, but we have to be reminded. And so, and the expectation of most of our retailers, most of our stores where the public goes to, they're requiring that regardless of what the government's telling them, which is really where we should be anyway.
Yeah, all restaurants should do this. I had Dr. Conger on again this week, and incidentally, he's been great as a friend, just as I have contracted COVID. And my doctor at Hpv and Biloxi is terrific as well. But he's always hammering those basic points. We know what the tools are. They're the same tools they were from the very beginning. And people get complacent, or they want to think that this thing is getting behind us. And you only need to talk to a healthcare professional to see how concerned they are about the uptick. It's a real issue.
The medical community understands it better than anybody else. And some of them are, early on, they were almost at panic levels. We were watching the hospitals. That's been our basic litmus for how far do we go with mandates. But folks, particularly restaurants and bars or any place where people interact very closely, we've got to make sure, or they've got to self-police and do this. But there are concerns, and it's going to be with us for a while. It's a cycle. And historically, anybody who studied pandemics, there are typically 3 waves that come. We're in the second wave, and the second wave is always the most deadly. So we shouldn't be surprised about that. We may not like it. Heck, none of us like it. It's an inconvenience, to say the least, and it is debilitating to folks in our immediate families from either a health or an economic standpoint. This is something that in a lifetime, anybody's lifetime, has never experienced something to this degree. But we just got to learn from it and support each other, but be smart as we're getting out about, whether it's during a storm or when it's bright and sunshiny out there.
Hey, we're coming to the end of this segment, but I just want to thank you for your leadership. It was awesome seeing you and Jim Cantori together. hate that he's in Gulfport and Biloxi, wherever he is at this moment. But your chemistry with him is terrific, and it enables you to communicate with people in a way that's very important. So keep up the great work.
Like, he's passionate about what he does, and he gets that all the time. Oh, God, Jim's in town. But we suggest he move on every time he comes, and maybe come back in the spring if he wants to. But right now, he's just but he's doing his job, and they're giving really good information out as well. So, we work through that. Fofo said something, I know we're about to close out, but Fofo said something that if you're in a low-lying area, you know who you are. Surge is coming.
Get out.
Get out of harm's way. If you're in a mobile home or something that's susceptible to wind, get out of the way. So
this is Mayor Billy Hughes, and we'll be back with some representative management from the Harris County Department of Emergency after this.
Be sure to go by this station's website and check out the half-off deals. Audible Zoo tickets for just $15. That's half price. $30 Zoo tickets for just $15. Again, go to this station's website or Facebook. Look for the half-off deals logo to purchase yours now.
Heart attacks and strokes don't stay home. So don't avoid the ER out of anxiety. Don't die of doubt. If you have an emergency, call 911. When seconds count, the hospital is the safest place to be.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer-songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and all this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
There's a place to share gossip about the office party fun, and a place to share the story you tell everyone. There's a place to share a laugh about when things went wrong, and a place to share the video of you dancing to your song. There's a place to share spare change, lunch, and your time. But we could all be better at sharing how we're feeling inside. 76% of employees have struggled with at least one issue that affected their mental health. When you share, you're not alone.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
This is House Call for Health. There may be no greater medical mystery and no greater tragedy than sudden infant death syndrome. It used to be known as crib death. For no apparent reason, a presumably healthy sleeping baby dies. Medical experts don't have clear-cut answers to what causes sudden infant death, or SIDS, but now they have 2 risk factors: smoking and drinking during pregnancy beyond the first 3 months. A new study finds that babies whose mothers drank alcohol and smoked tobacco after the first trimester are at far greater risk of SIDS, 12 times greater. Previous studies showed a risk of smoking and drinking individually. This study says doing both drastically increases the danger. The research is sponsored by the National Institutes of Health, which is calling for greater publicity about the danger and improved screening at the very beginning of a pregnancy. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to touch frequently touched surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. and wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Whether you're a Rebel, a Bulldog, a Golden Eagle, or just a sports fan, SuperTalk Mississippi has got a podcast for you. For you. Sports Talk Mississippi, The Rebel Report, Thunder and Lightning, the SuperTalk Eagle Hour, and The Borky Show are all now available for you. And it's all free. Get them all on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for SuperTalk on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Listen to Ole Miss football on SuperTalk 103.1.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. Hey, look, we have terrific conversations in the first segment with Mayor Fofo Gillich and then with Billy Hughes. They're both terrific leaders in their respective cities and kind of giving us the latest. And of course, they're just urging people to pay very close attention to this situation. Have your plan behind you by noon and begin to think about hunkering down. And we'll get into more specifics here shortly with Matt Stratton from the Harrison County Emergency Management Agency in just a second. But Kyle, why don't you come in for a second from the Mississippi Power Hurricane Command Center? What's the latest, buddy?
Well, the latest is it's about 290 miles southwest of New Orleans, and it's making a beeline for us, starting to move northeast, and looking at a landfall in southeast Louisiana later this afternoon. Tropical storm force winds going to pick up here in South Mississippi by 4 o'clock this afternoon, and hurricane force 6, 7, 8 o'clock tonight. And we're really hoping for the best. There were some reports earlier that they're not finding 90-mile-an-hour winds anymore, but we're 20 minutes away from the latest update coming out at 10 o'clock, so we'll see. Yeah, so in coastal Mississippi, we can have wind gusts up to 100 miles an hour. We're going to have Matt Stratton to talk to us more about that in just a second. But, people just need to pay attention, have your emergency plans ready to go. We're not so lucky this time. And let's go back to your point one last time, Kyle, that we got hit. We got so many close calls that it could create some complacency. And your concern at the crystal ball was exactly that. Yeah, that has been my concern for many years now, actually, because we had the same deal with, Katrina. Not that this is going to be any type of Katrina storm, but the lingering effects of, oh my gosh, we're in the cone of uncertainty again. Oh my gosh, here comes another storm. And then 6, 7 storms down the road, you're like, I'm not going to do anything. And then you wake up this morning going, oh, wow, 100 miles an hour tonight. I guess I better go get gas in the car. So people have to pay attention, and we're lucky now to have. We'll turn to our guest, Harrison County Deputy Director from the Emergency Management Agency, Matt Stratton. Matt, come on in and join me now. And how you doing this morning, buddy?
We're doing well. But it's going to be a busy day ahead of us, I think.
I know it has. Like real quickly, you came here to Keesler, and now you've landed there. You've been there about 3 years, right?
3 years now with Harrison County, yes, sir.
And you were in weather at Keesler.
That's right. I was a weatherman in my former career in the Air Force, but now working in emergency management for Harrison County. And I tell you, we have a great team here within the county, great partnerships with our cities here on the coast, and a lot of great team members throughout our community that we work with during these times of emergency.
And I've known Rupert for many, many years, and your team there, I know your team well. Jeff Clark and so many there. they're all best at what they do, and you're lucky to be working with them. So why don't we start with this? Let's put your weather hat on for a second and give us the latest that you guys are getting there and sort of what you believe the effects are going to be and the timing and all that. Just kind of go through that with us.
Yes, sir. Well, this scenario is a challenging one, to be sure. And I know it's been a long hurricane season for people this year, and folks are getting tired, and that's understandable. But I have to tell you, Hurricane Zeta does not care how tired you are. And so people need to take this seriously. There's possibility of several types of dangerous weather associated with Hurricane Zeta as it's approaching. We're looking at rain starting to pick up this afternoon, possibility of flooding along our rivers, and storm surge along the coastlines. Possibility of storm surges up to 9 feet in places. And so that will definitely cause problems along our low-lying areas. And heavy rains from the storm could also cause flooding away from the coastlines as well. So we need to be prepared for that. There is going to be an increase in the winds throughout the day and into tonight. The damaging winds are just one aspect. We could also have isolated tornadoes, and you're not going to see those coming, especially in the dark, unfortunately. And so people need to have a safe place identified right now. They need to know where they're going to be this afternoon, this evening. People that are in those low-lying areas, I strongly recommend they go to a safe location. People in maybe less fortified homes, maybe manufactured homes, need to go to a safe location. It is not safe in those places during a tornado or these hurricane force winds.
Yeah, I heard a couple of people on social media comparing this to Nate, which was kind of the last hurricane that came over. But, I was at my house. The eye passed over my house. I live on the northern shore of Biloxi Bay. And Nate was it was an 80, 85 mile an hour hurricane, but the most of those winds were right inside the eye wall. Wasn't a lot of rain associated with it. The backside of it was extraordinarily weak. I remember the eye being very calm. This is going to be more substantial than a Nate because, first of all, the speed that is coming through, that's a little bit similar to Nate. It's got a lot of rain associated with it. It's a much better organized storm. It's going to have potentially higher winds. There's a lot here. Nate was about 7 foot of storm surge. This is anticipating about 9. The other thing is that the wind direction was really interesting with Nate. I think it was coming from west to east when it hit. And the reality is that with a 9 foot storm surge that's associated with Zeta is you can have waves on top of that. So it's not just calm water. It could be very rough water, and people really need to pay attention to it. So it's hard. You shouldn't compare storms. I remember saying, after Hurricane Katrina, Mayor A.J. Holloway often said that Hurricane Camille killed more people in 2005 than it killed in 1969 because people made decisions based on Camille to stay in Katrina, and they died as a result of it. And so this is the same. This storm is going to have its own personality. It's going to make its own history. It's going to have its own impact, and we should not even think about other storms. That's right, isn't it, Matt?
Yes, sir. It is a natural human tendency to draw on our previous experiences, and those can be valuable to a point. But you are absolutely right that each storm is different and unique. Even 2 Category 1 storms could be very different as far as the impacts that they're going to be presenting to our community. Not all storms of the same category are created alike, and so you need to take each storm individually, listen carefully to the emergency information that's being put out by our public safety officials, by the National Weather Service, National Hurricane Center. They're going to tell you exactly what is expected with this particular storm, and you need to act on that information before you run out of time.
So the other thing is that people hear it's hitting southeast Louisiana, and they say, well, it's hitting there first, so it won't be as bad here. But what makes it unique is the angle that it's hitting. And it's the speed that it's hitting. So even if it's impacted by the land at 20 miles per hour, it's whatever that storm is when it hits land, it's going to stay pretty much together until it gets significantly inland. So this is not just a coastal event, is it?
No, we are expecting impacts well inland away from the coast. This storm is on a fast track right now. It is moving very quickly. That's good in the fact that it will move through quickly, and maybe the worst weather might be 6 hours, 8 hours. But because it is moving so quickly and it is starting to merge into the flow of the normal weather systems that we're more accustomed to, the structure of this storm is going to be changing, and it is going to be accelerating. And so this is not your typical hurricane that most folks are used to.
It's not. And as a result of that, people think, well, the front's going to affect it. Well, actually, and to some extent, the front is actually helping to ventilate it now. So you've got an anticyclone sitting over it. All the conditions are perfect for this thing to continue to strengthen. It will encounter some cooler water and some shear as it approaches the coast. But the reality is it's not going to be enough to knock it down. Whatever it is, it's going to be as it speeds through this area. And again, because of the angle, it comes into southeast Louisiana, then through like Bay St. Louis, Hancock County, and then like between Gulfport and past Christian, and then works its way north from there. We're going to get whatever it's got. And we should expect wind gusts over 100 miles per hour. And that's what the models are saying, isn't it?
That's exactly right. There have been some indications this morning that we could reach that Category 2 intensity. It's still at a 1 for now, but there may be a few more tricks left in Zeta's bag before it's all done. And we really want to encourage people to take this storm seriously and to make sure you're at a safe place. We will have hurricane shelters open throughout the coastal areas and really encourage people to make use of those if they don't have other resources available.
And Matt, we talked about this with Mayor Gillich and also with Billy Hughes. They're COVID ready, right? People don't have to be concerned about that.
That's correct. We've pre-positioned supplies at each of the shelters to make sure that we are mitigating the best way possible for virus or any other health concerns. People are rightly concerned about the virus, and so masks will be provided if they don't have them. And we're going to do our best, but we got to protect people from the wind and the water first and foremost, sir.
100%. Hey, Matt Stratton, thank you so much. Matt is the Deputy Director of the Emergency Management Agency in Harrison County. And his message is take this storm seriously, have a plan. If you live in a weak structure, you live near a low-lying area, get out. That's his message. So when we come back, Kyle and I'll sum it all up.
SuperTalk. Nobody keeps Mississippi informed like we do. With 12 stations covering all 82 counties. If it happens in your state, we're on top of it. The news, the weather, the sports, and the talk that's important to you. The issues that matter to you, your family, and your bank account. It's all right here. And when you're away from home, depend on the SuperTalk app and supertalk.fm to stay in the know. We're proud to serve our fellow Mississippians. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
We know that we're asking Americans to do a lot right now. So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible to this virus.
A question I often get asked is why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
Social distancing is really physical separation of people.
It's what we refer to when we ask people to stay at least 6 feet apart.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants, not going to theaters where there are a lot of people. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others who might actually be infected or infect you.
We all have a role to play in preventing person-to-person spread of this disease, which can be deadly for vulnerable groups. For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam, as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. Norbert, Elvis.
And I want to tell you about Presley. He had 2 different voices. He would sit and talk to me in a very calm, low voice. And we were at Stack's one night, and we were having lunch. We always had lunch at midnight because he was nocturnal. We sat there and we have our sandwiches, and at 1 o'clock, he looked up. He said, "Hey, Pot, come on, it's time for me to go beat on." And he stood up, and a much deeper voice, he put on his macho voice. "Hey, fellas, it's 1 o'clock. Let's get cracking, okay?"
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, Amazon Alexa, and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
It's me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
Everyone knows the only thing better than pizza is free pizza, and right now, buy a $10 gift certificate to CiCi's Pizza for only $5. It's like buying a pizza and getting a pizza for free. Go to our station's website or Facebook. Look for the Half Off Deals logo to purchase this amazing deal right now.
We give Hpv vaccine to children at 11 or 12 years of age. I have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, and I've given the vaccine to all of them.
Get out of the house and over to Big Play today. 2 massive arcades, bowling, go-karts, 2 mini golf courses, a 2-story state-of-the-art laser tag arena, bumper cars, and right now get a $50 game card for only $25. Visit our station's Facebook and print on demand so you can play at Big Play Entertainment Center now. These deals won't last long, so make sure you get your half-off deal. Big Play Entertainment Center, Highway 90 Biloxi. Bowl, play, eat. Go to our station's Facebook to get your half-off deal now.
This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View, and I hope that you're heeding the advice of Mayor Bofo Gillis from Biloxi and Mayor Billy Hughes from Gulfport, and then Matt Stratton from Harrison County Emergency Management. This is a situation we have to really take seriously. So if you live in a low-lying area, keep in mind that the storm surge is expected to be up to 9 feet. If you live in a weak structure around trees, you probably should think about going to somewhere that's going to be safe. Hopefully, a family member, someone, or a friend. And if you can't, find out the nearest shelter. But don't stay if you think there's a chance that you're in a structure that's not going to be strong enough to withstand an up to 100-mile-an-hour wind, because that's certainly what they're saying is going to be the case. Why don't we turn to Kyle real quick, who's in the Mississippi Power Hurricane Command Center. And Kyle, what's the latest, buddy?
So the latest 10 o'clock updates come out, and it's still moving north, but it's picked up some forward speed like they projected. It's moving north at 18 miles an hour. It's about 235 miles southwest of New Orleans, and maximum sustained winds are still 90 miles an hour. The minimum central pressure has dropped as well, 976 millibars this time versus 978 3 hours ago. So it's still organized. It's still acting like it's getting its act together. I would imagine it still has the potential to increase the intensity of this storm before it actually makes landfall later this afternoon.
It's certainly not going to be a storm that is that's feeling a lot of wind shear and cooler water, and is going to break down as it gets close. They said since yesterday actually that whatever hits is what it's going to be. And one of the reasons why is because it's moving so fast. And that's one of the reasons they believe that the inland effect of the storm is going to be substantial, because it's going to move significantly inland before it starts to break down. It's going to hit in southeast Louisiana and sort of skirt over and then go across the sort of the northern portions of the coastal counties and eventually into Alabama. But we're going to get the best of what it's got to offer, aren't we, Kyle?
I've been kind of watching that whole cone of uncertainty, and as narrow as that cone is, and you always are taught not to look at that center line, but if you follow that center line and there's only 30 or so miles either side of that center line, that hurricane is coming up just to the west of the mouth of the Mississippi River. Looks like it's taken the twin span straight across Lake Pontchartrain, and it's going to go up into between Waveland and Picayune in that area, Poplarville, and hang, kind of a right turn, moving northeasterly. And, looks from what it looks like, it's going to, that eye of that storm is going to come really close to my house.
Yes, it is. And the effects along coastal Mississippi are going to be substantial. So what they say, for example, is that this is from their key messages. A life-threatening storm surge is expected along portions of the northern Gulf beginning later today. The highest inundation is going to be right here along coastal Mississippi, up to 9 feet. And then you're going to have waves on top of that. So if you live in a low-lying area that's normally subject to storm surge, 9 feet it's getting critical. You put waves on top of that. If you live in a low-lying area, if you're not sure, if you're new to the area, ask your neighbors. But you do not want to stay in a storm surge scenario. That's for sure.
No, 6 to 9 feet above normal dry ground, plus 3 to 6 inches of rain. And as fast as the storm is rolling through, that is a blessing, yes. But at the same time, we're also getting 3 to 6 inches of rain in a very short period of time on top of the storm surge.
One of the things that we haven't been tested by, and Matt Stratton from Harrison County and I talked about this a little bit. Don't compare this to Nate. This is not Nate. This is Zeta. It's a different storm. It's a unique scenario. Most of our trees have not been tested in a while. So a lot of limbs, a lot of leaves on the trees. So expect some power outages, maybe widespread power outages, and down trees and all the. If you live near a tree that may fall or not, don't stay in your house if you live in a situation like that. You hear that every day, don't you, buddy?
Yeah, you do, and it's there's a lot of things out there, and there's a lot of pride out there, and why some people stay. I really think that this has to be one of those times where you don't let that get in your way. Whether it's the COVID situation or I don't have anyone that you feel can help you, reach out. Somebody will help you. If you need to go to a shelter, you can get to a shelter, and that is the safest place for you. Don't let any of these other extraneous excuses get in the way of safety during a storm like this. It's going to come through fast, and it's going to be at night. You're not going to be able to see it.
Yeah, night storms are not good. Matt Stratton from Harrison County also said that the shelters are COVID ready. And he made this point. We have to protect people from the wind and from the water first. And they can know that they're going to a COVID safe place. Really got to listen to. They say that this is from key messages again from the National Hurricane Center. Hurricane conditions are expected this afternoon and evening within portions of the hurricane area, which is our area. And it's going to come through pretty quick, and it's going to leave quick by tomorrow morning sunlight. We'll probably still have some brisk winds, but it will be over, and we can pick up and clean up. So final thoughts, Kyle?
Final thoughts is tomorrow when we're totally out of here, we're going to have winds blowing towards the east, and you can't catch fish when winds are blowing to the east.
That's a good one. Hey, coastal Mississippians, we have resiliency in our DNA. We know how to do this. Just make sure your neighbors and your families are paying attention to this storm. It's going to be a good blow, and we'll get through it, and then we'll pick up the other side and clean up and get on with our lives here in paradise. So anyway, good luck to everybody. Stay safe, and God bless you.
Take care, Ricky. Be safe.